development with at the same time environmental concerns. Like, it's very easy for us from a developed country perspective. For example, Europe has been settled and developed and has done their logging a long time ago, and then have this difference of situation because of the timeline of evolution. So when we started working with these companies, the first thing we pitched was basically, well, maybe we should start with a pilot project. And as my colleague from Greenpeace has stated, well, what happens when there is deforestation still occurring? And that's called leakage. So if I protect a forest here, what's to say that I'm not stopping it from being deforested over there? What's interesting is after working, so we're still at the very beginning stages. It's only about 6 months and we're still gathering data. So I can't comment with great detail because we're still in the internal phase of developing milestones and creating the plan. But then what happened was we started talking to management and we said, this is a real issue. Like, how do we actually develop an intra-company plan to know that there isn't going to be leakage? And what was interesting is we ended up starting this process called the Sustainability Roadmap 2020. So what it means is we now start looking at the entire footprint of the company and making sure that just because you're stopping deforestation here, you're not opening up new forests there. And it's really weird, like when you think about the evolution of what started off as a simple process of trying to protect animals and forests, now what's actually happening is you're having to see the entire business value chain in one sort of roadmap. So the goal is, just to finish my answer, what started off with a REDD project, a pilot project, has now become where we're developing milestones and a roadmap, which will be publicly available, the roadmap summary when we finish it, by 2020, where we're hoping to bring previously a paper and pulp company with no strong, focus on sustainability, but they've obviously done a bunch of different stuff which many people have called greenwashing. So, they've got biodiversity initiatives and social initiatives. But how do you bring that all into a roadmap to be sustainable by 2020? So to kind of in summary, what is greenwashing, I think, is really in the eye of the beholder. I think that, for example, if you give Indonesia as a country another 50 years, no different to where Japan was very polluted in the 70s, you're going to find that, the economy will start cleaning up. I think that similarly with a lot of the companies that we're dealing with, they know that they can't get away with just, what is flagrantly deforesting or abusing environmental principles.
Well, we have been reminded by the organizer, unfortunately we have to wrap up. Do you want to say a few words, Bess, to take on the second question?
Yeah, the second question, I think on the greenhouse gas, what are we doing about it? I think Rajawali at the moment, because there's a lot of unclear guidelines that need to be addressed amongst all the stakeholders, we are actually not developing any land in PEED. 2 areas that we have planted up, we are looking at areas that is not going to be planted 100%, but we are strictly following the HCVs that we have. And there are many more to do, like the mills and stuff like that. We are trying to plow back all those organic fertilizer, making sure there's zero waste, and etc. Methane gas capturing, stuff like that. We are looking at the possibility of it. I know it's going to be a long and winding road to reach the ultimate goal. But at least we have make a head start of what we think is best for the future and best for the country and best for the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My apologies, we probably ran over a little time, and I hope we didn't foreclose other questions, but I'm sure the panelists would be happy to talk after the panel. From my perspective, very interesting discussion, very, very useful to bring to life and put some more detail on the complexity of this difficult task, but also the importance of it. And I hope to George's point, the inevitability of it as well. I'd ask you all to join me in thanking the panel for their contributions.
Thank you very much indeed, Adam, to you and your panel. That was truly excellent. We're now going to just quickly rearrange the seating. And while that's happening, I'm going to distract you. So we had REDD, now we also have the 4 E's. I just wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts that arose for me out of that session. The first was Well, the first was that McKinsey makes money off everybody. Well, I think most of us probably already knew that. The second is that alongside environmental sustainability and societal sustainability, it's important never to forget that we need to find business models which are themselves sustainable for businesses. And joining those two things up, I think, is a very major challenge. Yes, we have great complexity. Yes, we have a generational challenge. But the fact that the challenge is complex and generational is a reason for starting now. It's not a reason for delay. It's a reason, if you like, for experimentation, for innovation, for finding out what works. And finally, the urgent importance of adding up the local and the global, the micro and the macro, to try and prevent the problem that was identified of leakage. Those were three things that sort of really leapt out at me from the conversation. Now perhaps we could move on to the next session, which is a conversation. The moderator for this is Ram Nidumolu, who is the founder and chief executive officer of InnovaStrat, and he will introduce his interviewee. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. And, you know, it's good to see a good crowd this morning. I wasn't sure on a Friday, the second day of the conference, if this would be a good turnout. And I appreciate all of you being here. And today is a 15-minute conversation. And let me introduce our guest today, a fascinating person. I've spent some time, and I think she's a trailblazer. And we have Umran Beba, who's the Asia-Pacific region's president for PepsiCo, and based in Hong Kong. During 2009, she was the president of PepsiCo's Southeast European region, and that covered Turkey, Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and the Balkans. And she holds an MBA and a BSc in industrial engineering from Bosphorus University in Turkey. In February 2010, Forbes magazine named PepsiCo Turkey as the #1 company in Turkey for fastest female advancement out of, I guess, about 121 companies that were surveyed. So this is a pioneering group led by Umran. And more to this, in September 2010, the global edition of Fortune magazine named her as number 23 in the list of the world's most powerful women.
Thank you.
And finally, on the personal side, she's married to Professor Dr. Ali Beba. Two kids, two boys, yes, aged 10 and 8. So that's by way of introduction. What I was thinking of doing in these 15 minutes is to really break it up into 3 phases, 3 pieces of it, 5 minutes each. Yesterday we were talking in terms of PPP, public-private partnerships, planet, people, and profits. So I want to introduce the 3 S's here, SSS. And the first one is in terms of success. And this is to do with Pepsi's success and sustainability. So maybe a couple of questions in that area. The second is to do with stories, some personal stories, both your story personally, as well as stories of your consumers, your customers. And the final S is in terms of leadership, which I really view as stewardship, moving from leadership to stewardship. So that's the general structure of these 15 minutes. And I've asked Umran to sort of engage in an interactive discussion where hopefully I'll be able to interrupt you and you can interrupt me and have quick answers and make it informal. Let me begin first by a quick poll of the audience here. How many of you have heard of Pepsi's performance with purpose? That's relatively new, very few. I see about 3 or 4. Umran, could you spend some time just, what is performance with purpose and what does it deal with?